So have you ever felt screwed by your insurance company when you received a medical bill? If you live in America, that's probably your reality. It didn't really happen to me too many times, but there was one time where I felt totally screwed. So my kid got scratched in the eye at daycare, and the daycare teacher recommended I go with the kid to the emergency room. And I'm a veterinarian, like I should have known better. I should have used my brain and evaluated that this visit was unnecessary. But I have not lived in the US for so long, so I'm like, okay, I'll go and let them look at the eye. But there was nothing that I shouldn't have gone. Anyway, but I went. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pay my copay. They asked me to pay a copay, and I was expecting $10, which is the normal copay at the doctor's. But no, if you go to the emergency, it was $200. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm not gonna be poor if I pay $200. The doctor looks into his eyes. It takes 5 minutes, and we go home. All good. And then in 2 weeks, I get the $1,000 bill, and I'm like, excuse me? And I go to my husband. He's an MD. He's a doctor, and I'm like, Tom, is that okay? Do we need to do something with it? And he says, well, it's normal. This is to disincentivize you from going to the emergency. And I'm like, what? Because then people who don't have healthcare, they would just go to the emergency and they wouldn't have normal doctor. I'm like, oh, interesting. So if you're in a life-threatening situation and you don't have cash, you just don't go and die. Anyway, so I kind of filed it back. And that was my first encounter with feeling screwed by my medical bill. Why am I telling you about it? Because there is a book I read, and I want to tell you about this book. A friend recommended it to me. It's called The Price We Pay by Marty Makary. He's an MD working at Johns Hopkins. And in this book, he describes why the US healthcare system is so screwed up and what to do to not be screwed up with it. A fellow veterinary friend doing a master in public health read this book, and she recommended it to me. And I got fascinated with the first chapter, how freaking screwed up that is. I had no idea. I thought, you have a job, you have insurance like everywhere in the world. But how Marty explains it in the book, you're going to be mind blown. So he divides the book into 3 parts. How screwed up it is in the first place, and he gives extreme examples where you would have a hospital that as a regular practice charges people extreme amounts for the healthcare they provided and then sues them all. And then they just basically automatically deduct the money that you owe them from your salary. So that's their regular practice. That's their business model. So that was an extreme case. And there were several different ones. So I highly recommend you check it out. You may be shocked. And I was shocked. I talked about it to my husband, and he says, yeah, that's what happens. But we just never were personally affected by this till that emergency room incident. Now I think twice before going to the emergency with my kids. We unfortunately had to go 3 times, but the other 2 times were actually necessary. So the second part of the book actually explains where this craziness comes from. And the common belief, and I was subscribing to these common beliefs. These were slogans that you hear, and then when you hear them from qualified people, for example, an MD, you kind of start believing in this. So one thing was oh, the drugs are so expensive because the R&D cost in the US is so high. The author explains in this book that that's not really the case, or that's a fraction of the reasons why these treatments are so expensive. He explains the whole chain of middlemen who created professions around negotiating in between entities. So negotiating between medical device suppliers and a pharmaceutical company, or between the pharmacies and the employers. So this middleman, this broker of whatever you're trying to get access to, be it drugs or be it medicines or be it a medical device, there's a broker who gets a fee cut from what you would normally pay for the product. And they like invent the percentages that you're paying. So you might be paying them like, I don't know, 10 times as much as those drugs actually cost, or 10 times as much as those medical devices cost. Or this is a person who comes to you with a catalog and he's totally incentivized to put certain products in your catalog. So this is a huge, huge part of the inflated medical and healthcare costs in the US. So the third part of the book talks about how we can actually change things. So what can you do for the situation to start changing? Like what can the individuals do? And for example, I didn't know that if you're an employer, well, I didn't know a lot of stuff in this book, and there's a lot more to the book than I'm telling you in this video. So, you know, grab the link from the description below and read it. Oh my goodness, it's an amazing book. Anyway, so one thing that an employer can do, pay directly for the healthcare costs for their employees. They don't have to go through the insurance. They don't have to pay the insurance rate. And if they pay it directly, the price is not going to be higher than what Medicare would pay for the same services, which often is a lot lower what hospitals quote insured patients. So amazing book, super well researched, eye-opening. For me, it was like, okay, if I pay my insurance, have a good employer, it's all going to be good. Well, there are a lot of times when it will not be good and it's not your fault, but knowledge is superpower. Knowledge is a weapon. Knowing these things can help you start approaching everything more consciously, and not only in this case in, you know, health insurance and healthcare, but in every aspect of your life. So here a little bonus hack that I started implementing whenever I go and meet people who have expertise in different areas than my expertise, to conferences when people speak. Whenever they mention a book title, I used to put it on a wish list, and then they would stay on the wish list. What I'm doing now, I'm just buying, I listen to the books on Audible, and I'm buying all the credits necessary to buy the books immediately. Knowledge and insights are power, so this book definitely gives you insights into the cost of healthcare. I also subscribed to Scientific American to gain some insights in some other areas. So if this video was useful for you, be sure to subscribe and also check the playlist here with other book reviews. And I talk to you in the next episode.